Alright, what's up guys, Chocosura here, and in this video I'm going to give my thoughts of the Final Fantasy Tactics Reimagined mod, which was created by Action Man, I believe. Um, so I did promise that I was going to give a review of this mod and what I thought of it. I'm going to be giving my opinion and thoughts on the good things about this mod and the bad things about this mod. But I will say first and foremost that uh, I want to say, if I were to give a percentage, I liked about 85% of the things in this mod. And I think that's a pretty fair number. I mean, of course, no FFT mod is perfect. I mean, no game is perfect, but there are more good things I liked about this mod versus things I did not like. And I'll get into all of that further in the video, but basically I'm going to explain my reasonings of why I liked something and why I didn't like something. But yeah, first of all, I'm gonna go ahead and bring up the patch notes that the creator has put in with the mod pack. So let me bring those up really quick. And the reason I want to bring those up is because I do want to go over the classes of this mod, the job classes. Basically, I can lump them into three categories. Honestly, there are some job classes that hit the nail on the head. They do what they were designed to do. So I have nothing much to say about them, honestly. Then there's a couple of job classes which are kind of underpowered, and then there's job classes that are just straight up busted. So I'll get into all of that in later on in the video. But first of all, I do want to say that overall this was a pleasant experience. Like I said, I did like most of the things about this mod, and there are some things that I didn't care for, some things I just flat out didn't like. But I think that the mod maker did overall a pretty good job with this mod. I will say that from the jump. This is a mod that I have. I want to say this is I'm not gonna say this is the best mod I played, but it is. I would say my top 10. And like I said, I'll explain all of that later. But right now I'm going to pull up the patch notes file, and I'm gonna go over some of the, well, not some, all. I'm gonna go over the classes and what I thought about how the classes were designed and how they were changed for either the better or for the worse. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull up those patch notes right now. Let's see. Here we go. Alright, so I'm not gonna read through this whole thing. You guys are intelligent, you guys can read. But basically, the mod, it does not alter the story, as you saw if you watched my playthrough. It doesn't alter the story in any way. It's the vanilla story, which is fine. Basically, the mod focuses on overhauling many of the jobs in the game, which it does. Abilities have been shifted, moved around. Some unavailable abilities are available, new abilities, and item changes, equipment changes, stat changes, and all that good stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna scroll on down here. Let's see, updates. We don't need to worry about that. Skip on down to, here we go, move, find, item change. So I do agree with the move, find, item change, and a lot of mods do this, where the common and the rare item are the same, which I do like that change. Because in vanilla, when you land on a space that has an item, you have a brave percent chance of getting that item, and then if you fail that chance, you get a Phoenix down or you get something crappy. I do like that change about this mod, um, where you step on that space, you are guaranteed to get that item. So that means, as it says here, I can appreciate trying to give a reason for someone to have low brave, but there's that 1 out of 10 chance getting the crap item, like I just explained. Basically, you have to reset if you get that crap item. So that means you don't have to run low brave units. You don't have to have any reason to run low brave in this mod, which is a good thing. So I do like that change. Let me see. Unit crystallizes, lights go out, staying perma dark. Oh yeah, that is a thing in this mod. With the deep dungeon where a unit crystallizes, then the lights go out because the deep dungeon is fully lit, which I do like that change. Uh, Although I'm really used to playing deep dungeon in the dark because it's deep dungeon, and I've gotten used to it. So I played a lot of mods with deep dungeons, and I'm just used to being in the dark. So deep dungeon fully lit is a very nice change. I really like that. But as the mod maker says here, I'm not sure what's causing this shit. The lights go out when a unit crystallizes and they stay in permadark. Yeah, I'm not sure what that's about either. But yeah, I thought it was kind of weird where because usually crystals, when a crystal pops in deep dungeon, it lights it up a little bit, and the more crystals that pop out, the lighter and the lighter it gets. But that's not the case in this mod. It goes dark for whatever reason. The mod maker doesn't know, and I don't know either. So that's something I'm not going to pick on. That's just something. Maybe it's something with the game engine. I don't know. But that is a thing. Um, Job levels of each class when double past level 1. The goal was to give enemy units more JP to have abilities. Make them. I do like that change as well. The one main issue I always did not like about Tactics, and I'm talking about Tactics Vanilla, is the fact that the enemy units didn't have a lot of JP to use abilities. You would always face like the same knights and wizards and chemists, and even all the way through chapter 4 you would archers, yeah, you would just face those same units. I mean, you may get different units here and there like these or summoners or white mages, whatever, but they wouldn't have a lot of JP to use their stuff, and you would just face things that would be using stuff like basic skill and throw stone and dash, and it was just why. I do like the fact that the mod maker gave the enemy units more JP, and it was challenging, a little more challenging. Although there were some units late game who I saw were using stuff like throw stone and whatnot. But let's see, Java requirements. They're more streamlined with more classes having linear progression to unlock. Some hybrid special classes require a bit more to unlock. I do like that change as well. The way you can lock these job classes fairly quickly if you do a little bit of grinding, and you can see the list right here what you need to unlock job classes in this mod. Of course, Primal Mage, which I do believe replaced the calculator in this mod. I'm almost certain. Requiring 4 levels in Black Mage and 6 levels in Summoner. So Primal Mage does require a bit of grinding, but it is worth it. And a lot of these other classes, they require level 4 of a lot of things. Ninja requiring level 5 Monk, and yeah, like I said, they require a little bit of grinding, but not too much so as for you to tear your head out. Yeah, so I do like that change as well. I would say, I did notice that Bard, Dancer, and Mime are not in the mod at all. They must have been changed or used for other things, I believe, because I did not unlock Mime. I did not see Bard or Dancer at all. So I'm assuming like the Sing skill set and the Dance skill set were used for or were changed to other skill sets. But kind of sad about that, but it is what it is. Generic job claim, generic job changes. All jobs had equipped change to defend, of course. So let's start talking about the jobs about this mod. As I said earlier, some of the jobs were right where they needed to be. They did what they were supposed to do. They did what they were designed to do, and there's no pluses or minuses about them really. There are some jobs that are flat out underpowered, and there are some jobs that are just flat out busted. So let's start with Squire. Squires are the basic physical class with no real defining characteristics. They provide very rudimentary physical abilities that can be useful in the short term, but become quickly outclassed as the game progresses. Act fundamentals. Yeah, so Squires, I mean, they do what they're supposed to do. You start with Squire, obviously, when you start the game. Don't expect much from them, as you shouldn't in pretty much any FFT mod, unless they were like changed or whatever. But Squires are just that. They do basic stuff, so they're there to unlock other job classes. So naturally, a player won't stay as a Squire for too long. But yeah, they do what they're supposed to do. Pretty much the same skill set as in vanilla, minus I believe accumulate, which I believe accumulate was on night, but I'll get to that in a minute. Wish Dash, though, Sony Heal, yeah, Squire stuff. Nothing too much to say about them. Let's see, Chemist. Chemist function as an instant but less effective healer than Priest. Cleansing items have been consolidated to body/mind purifiers to simplify their loadout. I like that change 100% because now on this mod you don't have to buy things like antidotes and echo screens and softs and holy water. Well, holy water is its own thing, but remedies. You don't have to buy none of that stuff. All of those status healing items are tied into either body purifier or mind purifier. I love this change. Let's see what else we got. Let's see, potion, high potion, X potion. They're the same as vanilla pretty much. Nothing much to say about them. Elixir does the same thing. Although I found that elixirs were much more rare in this mod. Like, I only found a few, and I think you have to poach for them, which kind of sucks, but I mean, you won't really need elixirs until late game anyway, when stuff starts like one-shotting you and you have your characters with like 400, 500, 600 HP. That's when you kind of need elixirs, but then again, you really don't need them. But yeah, elixir is weird. I mean, you kind of need them late game, but then again, you don't need them. But anyway, as far as everything else in Chemist, say auto potion, throw out of maintenance. Yeah, Chemists, basically they are designed to do. They do what they were designed to do, and I have no qualms about them. Let's move on to Knights. Knights are a frontline physical damage class. They can wear the strongest armor and shields for protection. They can use powerful sword techniques to attack nearby enemies. They can also buff themselves to be more effective in combat. Act arts of war. I feel as though Knights are good early game. They do quite a bit of damage. I found myself using arts of war in chapters 1 and 2. But then chapter 3 came around and Knights all of a sudden are like they start falling off really, unless you are really determined to use one. But I do like the Knight skill set. Mighty Strike and Assault Arc especially are pretty strong. Grand Cleave's pretty strong as well. Shock is situational if you have low HPs. It's basically Beowulf's shock from vanilla, honestly. Um, I didn't find myself using them too much though. Accumulate and Yell are always good to have. Yell, of course, inflicts haste, self-target haste, instead of speed +1, because Yell giving speed +1 is pretty broken. Magic breaks are always pretty nice to have in certain situations. And accumulators accumulate, you can buff your power. So knights, I feel they're in a decent spot, but I feel as though that uh, they could be buffed a little bit for late game, I would say. I mean, like I said, I haven't really used like stuff like Grand Cleave and Assault Art late game, but I'm really not sure how strong they would be. And of course they only hit one target at a time because they're knight. So yeah, I think knights that they can be a little buffed for late game. They're fine for early game, chapter 1, chapter 2, but chapter 4 knights are kind of you have other damage options by then, so it's like, why use knights? Let's see. Let's move on to archers. Now, archers have a new set of skills. Cripple skill set. Their skills now focus on physical debilitations instead of charging attacks. Archers have innate secret hunt. I 100% agree with this. I love this change. Charge is just so underwhelming on vanilla. And it's basically 7 skills in that skill set that do the exact same thing. And it's like, why use archer? I mean, you get something like charge +1, charge +2. I usually don't learn anything past, say, charge +4, because then the charge skill just takes too long for it to go off. The enemy will have moved out the way by then, or will have mid-charged you by then, or whatever. But I always thought that charge was so underwhelming, so bad. But on this mod, cripple, very, very useful. We've got speed break, power break, mind break, leg aim, and arm aim. So cripple is absolutely one of the better skill sets on this mod. I mean, of course, you have to go through evasion and percentages to hit, but speed break is pretty useful if you need to grind some JP or something like that. Power break, mind break are useful for bosses. Leg aim for don't move. Arm aim to don't act something that's trying to charge something on you. Blah blah blah. I do love the changes to archer in this mod. And of course, they have the same reaction support, speed save, arrow guard, secret hunt, stuff like that. Actually, secret hunt was originally on Thief. It was changed to archer. Speaking of secret hunt, I do like the change that archers have innate secret hunt. I do like that a lot. As a matter of fact, there was a fight that I did in Deep Dungeon. I believe it was it Voyage or Horror? One of those two floors. I think it was Horror, where I used an archer to poach pretty much everything in that fight. Innate secret hunt is really nice to have if you're interested in poaching. So yeah, I do like the change to archer. Monk. Oh my god, where do I start with this class? Monk is absolutely broken in this mod, and I'll tell you why. Okay, so first of all, let's read this. Monks no longer have their HP status restoring abilities, so no chakra, no revive, but have increased movement and evasion and have access to more attacks, which they do. Their martial arts attacks now deal earth or wind damage. Really? Oh, I don't remember anything doing. I remember earth slash doing earth damage. I don't remember, but anyway. And I'm pretty sure that these two were not in the skill set on this version. Mimic Titan and Hurricane were not there. They are actually Spirit Lancer and Spirit Bomb, the last two skills in Monk set. But anyway, Monk is absolutely broken. I will honestly say that I loved this class and hated this class at the same time. And the reasoning is because that Monk, once you get to a certain point in the game, once you have access to sticks, once you have access to MA boosting gear, Monk with the correct secondary can outperform pretty much any other mage class. And the reason I say that is because the sticks that they can get and only they can use, they provide so much MA. Like the first couple of sticks are, or whatever, they provide like one, like the first one provides +1 MA, and then the next one's +2, and the next one's +3. There are sticks, once you get to chapter 4, there are sticks that give like +8, +10 to MA, +12 to MA, and it's like, why do they give so much MA? So it's not uncommon for a late chapter 4 monk to have, say, 20 plus MA just by gear. So now all of a sudden, your white mages, your black mages, your summoners, your primal mages, Monk does it better. And you can tell me, yeah, okay, Monk has less MP, sure, but there's ways around that. And it gets to the point where, and I'll give White Mage Monk an example. I'll give that as an example. White Mage Monk supports much better than a White Mage does. A monk with, say, Summon Magic does more damage than a summoner. It's crazy. Like, monks are absolutely busted. And once you get, say, again, like a white magic monk, for example, is probably going to be your ultimate support unit. I wouldn't say ultimate, but it's going to be a top tier support unit in the game. Once you unlock a white magic skill set, once you unlock the sticks that give you the most MA, once you are in like chapter 4 and whatnot. And by that point, it's like, why run a white mage? Why run a black mage? Why run a summoner? Because monk does it better. A monk has access to more MA than pretty much any mage class in this mod. And I'm not sure of the reasoning why that is. I'm just flabbergasted at why it is what it is. Why sticks give so much MA and so much power to monks. And it's not to like shit on their primary class, because their primary class is strong too. You got Wave Fist, you got Earth Slash, you've got Spirit Bomb, Spirit Lancer. Those do heavy damage too with a lot of MA. And monk just has a lot of options. You know, it becomes one of the best classes in the mod. Once you get past, say, chapter 2 or early chapter 3, mid chapter 3, you run a monk with, you know, white magic, you run a monk with summer magic or primal magic or something like that, you're set. I mean, you've got one of the highest damage dealers in the mod. I mean, only units like Orlando or I would say, well, summoners can compete with monks, but up to a point. You got units like Orlando and maybe Meliador or maybe Reese can't compete with that damage. But I mean, once you unlock the true power of monk, it's like, why use any other mage class? I do like the change of giving Abandon and Hamedo. I'm sorry, just Abandon. Monks already had Hamedo. Giving Abandon to monks, I do kind of like that change. Yeah, so monks are just busted, honestly. They really are. I don't know why the mod maker decided to give that much power to monks, but it is what it is. White mages now have exclusive, except summons, domain over all healing restorative magics. They also gain the ability to restore MP to their target. Spell range increased to 7. Okay, so white mages, I feel, uh, white mage is one of those jobs where it does what it was designed to do: to heal, to support, to, you know, hang in the back lines and keep your team up and running. And they do that job very effectively. Um, so you notice they did lose spells like Protect and Shell. They lost Holy. Um, I believe I think that's it. That's all they lost, right? Yeah, because Suna, Regen, Rebase, Arise Rays, and the Cure spells. Yeah. So they lost Protect, Shell, and Holy, which is fine. So white mages are purely defensive, which is what they're supposed to be, really. Um, refresh shot, and refresh sugar. Once again, I go back to the monk. Now, the only issue I have with refresh skills are the fact that they do restore MP, but if you use it from a white mage, they don't restore that much MP. I believe the MP restored is based on your MA. So white mages really don't restore that much MP. I think refresh is what, 15 MP, if I want to say, and refresh shot is 30, and refresh shot is 45. You're not restoring that much MP under a white mage's MA. Once again, I go back to the monk. Monk uses white magic better than a white mage does, because if you stick white magic secondary on a monk, then all of a sudden your refresh is going to restore much more MP, and now your white mage monk can be somewhat of an MP battery for your other mages or sword skill units or whatever. But yeah, white mages are good for like first half of the game. But like I said earlier, once you unlock sticks for monks, once you unlock those sticks that give like 5 MA, 7, 8, 10 MA, then there's no point running a white mage. There really isn't. At that point, you just stick white mage secondary on a monk and call it a day. There's your support unit, who can also deal damage, by the way. Let's move on to black mage. Black mages deal exclusively and attack magic. All those spells do direct damage to the enemy. They have access to the first 2 levels of black magic. Spell range increases to 7 squares. Level 1 only hits 1 target square. Level 2 hits 1 adjacent. Okay, so once again, black magic, or black mages rather, they do what they were designed to do, and they do it effectively. So they don't have things like Fire 3, Fire 4, the Tier 3, Tier 4 spells. They don't have Flare, they don't have Fog, they don't have Death, etc., etc. They are strictly there to deal damage, elemental damage. And they're good at that. And once again, black mages, they are great for like the early half of the game. Like chapter 1, chapter 2. Black mages are very powerful in chapter 1, by the way. Chapter 2, they are still pretty strong. Once again, once you hit chapter 3, you run black magic on a monk, then you are going to do much more damage. I did forget to mention spell range change here. Spell range increased to 7. Now, that's a change I like, because oftentimes if you run a mage unit in a tense fight and you have to charge something on somebody, depending on the position, depending on the map and whatnot, oftentimes you have to put your spellcaster in a spot where they can be reached by either a long range unit like an archer, or something that has status, or something that can just walk up and, one-shot it, or mid-charge it rather. 7 range spells, I honestly think, is a good change, because on this mod, 7 range spells, that means now you can have your mage in a spot where they can't easily be reached by the enemy team, and unless they're running like archers or something like that, or summons. But they are relatively safer from your behind your team, and they can just snipe with their spells. This is especially useful on maps with walls or maps that have pretty restrictive movement for the enemies. Like a good map, for example, is Zaylan Force City, which has like that little slope at the beginning, then the wall right there, and then the enemies on the other side of that wall. This is an excellent map to use a black mage because now you can just snipe from behind the wall. As long as you position right, as long as you look at the AT and see if they're not going to move, then your black mage is relatively safe. But that's basic tactic stuff. So, but all in all, black mages are a class that they do what they were designed to do. Is again, monks, they do their stuff better though. I also do like the change of giving move MP up to black mages as well. MP is kind of an issue in chapter 1, so move MP up definitely helps out. Because usually you won't have a lot of money for ethers, and or unless you grind for money. But move MP up is definitely a good change. Moving that to black mage, I like that. Alright, let's see. Green mages. Green mages have the ability to buff their party with various parameter increases to make them more effective in combat. Spell range increased to 7. Okay, so once again, green mages are very, very powerful units. They're very powerful support units. I found myself using green magic skill set very frequently in this mod because, I mean, who doesn't like being hasted? Who doesn't like quick? Who doesn't like protect and shell? Those are staple buffs that your team would love to have. And again, spell range increased to 7. Also nice to have. You can keep your green magic user away from the action, have them buff from behind the lines, and everything is all good. Green mage is one of those classes that do what they were designed to do, and that is to support and buff. That's all they do. So you notice that they have my voice is cracking. They have skills from various skill sets in vanilla. They have haste, they have protect, they have shell, they have float, effect, and quick. Yeah, so not much to talk about as far as green mages are concerned. Now, as far as monks and green magic, I feel as though that green magic on a monk it's okay, but it's not the best, but it's not really taking advantage of their high MA. I mean, you may get a little higher percentage out of stuff like quick, for example, but I mean, they're pretty high percentage as it is, so I feel as though green magic and purple magic, which I'm going to talk about next, doesn't really suit a monk well. And secondary monk skill set should be a damage skill set. Speaking of purple magic, we got purple mage, another new class in this mod. Purple mages have domain over debuffing enemies. They have no direct damage, but they can apply nearly all debuffs to their target. Spell range increased to 7. So basically, purple mages are the opposite of green mages. All they do is debuff enemies, and that's a good thing. Does debuffed enemies, of course, they have a harder time killing your team, and they're also good for locking enemies in place, stopping their charge. If they're charging something on one of your team members, you can stop them from doing so. You can prevent them from taking. You can have them take their turns less often with slow, of course. Silence. You can silence those mages, and silence song is very powerful on this mod. As is confusion song. They also have stuff like sleep and fog and death, of course, taken from Black Mage, Time Mage, Oracle skill set. So all those spells are there, except for I believe no zombie is there. Okay, something is not here though. Is it petrify? Yeah, petrify is not in that list. I think it's just petrify. Yeah, yeah, they can do everything except petrify, which is just fine. And purple mages, of course, they do their job very effectively. They do what they were designed to do. Very good class. I like that. Let's see, summoner. Summoner is already unique in their skill loadout. Only change made was to add MA save to reaction abilities. I don't know. I mean, I found summoners, and for those of you who watched my playthrough, I had a summoner. I had a generic summoner named Noelle, and she has saved my bacon on multiple occasions because summoners do very high damage on this mod. I don't know if their skill sets were altered. Well, there are damage formulas anyway. I don't know if their damage formulas were altered or what, but it seemed like summoners were just absolute beasts, you know? I mean, summoners are a very, very strong class on this mod. I would even say they could use a little bit of a nerf, but that's just me. But once again, they do what they were designed to do. Moving on to Thief. Thieves already have a unique skill set. Changes made. Add move +3 to move +3 and move. Find item and movement abilities. Caution was move +1. Okay, so yeah, thieves are pretty much like vanilla, except they have move plus. Did they have move +3? I don't remember them having move +3. It might have been something else. I don't know. But anyway, thieves are pretty much vanilla on this mod, so nothing significant to note about them. They do have move find item though. One thing to note about this mod is the fact that break skills were removed, and I'll get to that a little bit later. But break skills, equipment breaking was removed. So the only reason to run maintenance on this mod is because of a thief. So yeah, thieves are just the same as before, pretty much. Mediator, one of my favorite classes. Mediators don't really fall into a physical or magical damage archetype, instead being a support class capable of manipulating Brave and Faith. Debuffs are the domain of purple mages, so they can no longer berserk or sleep enemies. Success rate of increasing Brave Faith increased to 100%. So that I feel is an interesting change, because instead of having a mediator around to use something like, say, Mimic Derivin, which I'm very fond of that skill, especially in Deep Dungeon. Mimic Derivin, Insult, what's the other one? Death Sentence. They don't have that. The only reason to run a mediator in this mod is to increase your Brave or increase your Faith, or to lower the enemy's Brave and Faith. Lowering Brave and Faith is really not all that useful, except for against Chapter 4 Elmdor, if you're trying to steal his stuff. That's pretty much the only time I ever use stuff like Threaten and no, just Threaten really. Solution is decent if you want to lower a Mage's Faith, I guess, but again, Mediator is kind of a niche class in this mod. Invitation, of course, you can invite units. Now, mediators, on the other hand, they do have access to books. They are the only class in this mod that can use books, and the books are pretty busted. I'll get into that a little bit later, but the books I found are kind of bugged right now. Their stats and their effects work. It's just that you can't attack with them for whatever reason. I don't know, but you cannot attack with books on this mod. I don't know if that was intentional or if it's a bug, but I found on more than one occasion of me needing to hit something and I can't because mediators can't attack with books. So if it is a bug, I hope that bug gets fixed, but if not, then so be it. Mediators, strangely, are also, because of their books, they're also they're pretty hard to kill as well, because a lot of those books have 50% evade, so they are pretty hard to hit. And I feel a lot of those books can be nerfed too. So yeah, mediators are kind of a odd class, but I mean they do have their uses. Let's see, Geomancers. I didn't find myself using Geomancy that much. I do like the fact that elemental abilities range was increased to 6, but they lost their AoE, so they're basically 1 square. And they're 1 square, but they have longer range. So yeah, like I said, I didn't find myself using a Geomancer all too often. So nothing really to say about them, honestly. They still have counter flood attack up, magic attack up. Magic attack up was moved to Geomancer because that's usually on what, wizard, I think. Lancers gain innate ignore elevation. Their skill set is already well siloed. No other changes made. All right, now I want to touch upon a point here, and this is one of the things I did not like about this mod. And I'm not talking about Lancer. I'm about to talk about teleport. Lancers having ignore height, which is what ignore elevation is, actually comes into play several times in the game, because your party, there's no class that I've found anyway, no class that you have access to has access to teleport, and that is one of the most brutal things about this mod, because if you don't have teleport on some maps, especially deep dungeon, your mobility is so limited, and your limited mobility can really hurt. You're already at a disadvantage. And those of you who watched, I believe, what was it? One of the fights in Malapan, I want to say. Might have been horror as well. But I was really getting frustrated at the fact that I didn't have teleport, because a lot of those maps in Deep Dungeon, you kind of need teleport to move around, because if you don't have it, then, like I said earlier, your movement is so restricted and you get hit by more things, and it's like, and things all of a sudden become harder. But that's one of the things I did not like about this mod, is the lack of a teleport ability, of the teleport ability. So Lancers having ignore height is actually a good change. I like that, because you actually need it at certain points. Noveska Temple, for example, when you're trying to get those items from the 2 pillars at the start, you need someone with ignore elevation, or you use like Worker Rate or somebody like that. But yeah, the lack of teleport in this mod is a minus in my book. I don't like that at all. Samurai, same as Lancers. Samurai only siloed, know what they do, no changes made. I agree, there's nothing really special about them. They have all their katana abilities, and they do what they're supposed to do. Ninjas, they didn't get many changes either. Don't really have much to say about ninjas, honestly. They do what they're supposed to do. Although the ninja weapons, I feel they're kind of meh. They do provide a lot of evasion, which is good, but other than that, they really don't stand out. So ninjas are like whatever in the spot. I mean, they're pretty much the same as vanilla. Primal Mages. Primal Mage cast the strongest black magic, level 3 of each element. Radius increased to 2 squares, along with the big spells Flare, Meteor, Dark Holy, tornado, melt, etc. JP costs of spells are reduced due to player having to go through Black Mage and Summoner to unlock. I will tell you right now, I do like the Primal Mage as a whole. And once again, I'll go back to my one generic unit that I used. If you watch my playthrough, she was a Primal Mage for, I want to say, like 70% of the playthrough, because the Primal Mage spells, they take so long to get. And it says here that the JP cost of spells are reduced, and I still feel that they're kind of much. But I mean, you get what you pay for. They are all very strong spells. Now, one thing I did notice about this skill set, and I don't know if it was intentional or not, and if it is, just ignore what I'm about to say, but I noticed that Bolt Dagger here has a much shorter charge time than, say, any other God spell. And I'm not sure why that is. Maybe it was oversight, but I found myself using Bolt Dagger plenty of times rather than the other Aga spells because of its shorter charge time. But like I said, I don't know if that was intentional or not. If it is, just ignore it. But I just found that pretty weird, pretty strange, and I'm like, why? I mean, because my thought process is if you're gonna make one of the Aga spells shorter, just make them all the same charge time. It only makes sense, because it doesn't make sense to make Bolt Aga shorter charge time than, you know, Faraga, Blizzaga, and the other Aga spells. I just found that weird. Another strong spell in the skill set is Holy, and I do believe Holy's charge time is not too long. It's not too bad, actually. It's very powerful though, as you expect it to be. I mean, Holy is, you know, the strongest white spell in the game. Of course, Flare. Honestly, I think Holy might be stronger than Flare on this mod. I don't know if it is or not, but it seems like it. I know it's stronger than Dark Holy. They're both stronger than Dark Holy. I didn't find myself using Dark Holy too many times. Mainly, I use Holy a lot. I use Flare here and there. But all in all, this skill set is very powerful. And it takes a long time to master. And I mean, it takes, I believe, almost 5,000 JP to master this class. Which is a good thing. So, I mean, you get what you pay for. You know, Primal Mage are very good units, and I like the change that the creator made, giving the Aga spells and the big AoE spells like Tornado, Quake, Melt, and all that to this class. I like that. And they also have short charge and damage split. Let's see, special class changes. All special classes share reaction, support, movement abilities with base Squire, of course. Any special characters come with a secondary job unlocked. So, Chapter 4 Ramza. Chapter 4 Ramza is pretty much a Dark Knight. He's pretty much Gavgarian, because as you see here, he has access to Night Sword and Dark Sword and Split Punch, Judgment Strike, which is one range, and Revive and Recruit. So Chapter 4 Ramza is actually really good, except for the fact that he doesn't have any AoE sword skills like Lightning Stab or Stasis Sword. He doesn't have any of that, unfortunately. He doesn't have like Holy Explosion, but he is very good self-sustaining his HP. He's very good of draining MP. And he's a very good DPS unit. He can also double as a reviver, revive. I do like the 100% revive. It is a high MP cost. I believe it's 30, I want to say. Which 30 really isn't that high, honestly. It really isn't, because he's got Dark Sword. So once he runs out of MP, he can just Dark Sword something, and then boom, you got your MP back. And Recruit is pretty interesting here. It says it's a better version of Invitation, and it is. I haven't used it too much, but I think when I did use it, it had like 40% odds, which is certainly better than Invitation, because Invitation usually has like 20% chances. Recruit being like 40-something% chance is really nice. So Chapter 4 Ramza is a really good unit. I like the changes to this. Let's see, Vad I didn't even use on this run. Looking at this skill set, I probably should have trained Vad up, at least for Deep Dungeon. He has Ignore Elevation, Innate Ignore Elevation, and Move Find. So, yeah, it says right here, Rad is the ultimate treasure hunter, as he has full range of movement over the map. He can pass by unhindered by any. Yeah, so I probably should have trained him up. I don't know why I didn't. I mean, his skill set is pretty decent. Disorienting Blast looks interesting though. Resets the CT of a target. That looks pretty interesting. Could be useful on like bosses and whatnot. I don't know. I mean, I never really used them. I probably should have though. But all in all, he seems like a good class in general. Alicia Lavian, new job Spellblade. Alicia Lavian can cast elemental spells, but they split elements. They have less range damage than black mages, but instant cast spells. They cannot wear robes or hats, so they have a more limited MP pool, but their MP growth is increased to help compensate. Their level 1 Spellblade attacks are melee range, level 2 has a 2 square reach, level 3 has a 4 square reach. No AoE on their abilities, their abilities scale on MA. So, this is another thing that I didn't really particularly like about this mod. Spellblades in general are just weak. They're weak. I mean, the concept is nice. They seem good on paper, but they don't pack any sort of a punch. I mean, honestly, and this is why I kind of gave up on Spellblade early. I tried giving them a chance, but I said to myself, nah, Spellblade is just not working for me. You know, the damage is just it's very lackluster. That's why I changed Alicia and Lavian to other job classes and have them do other stuff, because Spellblade is just it's not a bad skill set, but the damage is just it's lackluster. Now, I haven't tried this, but if I put, say, equip sword on a monk and give them I make Alicia and Lavian a monk, and then give them Spellblade secondary and give them equipped sword. I wonder how much damage the Spellblades would do then. I'm curious. I never really tried it on my playthrough, but I never really thought about it either, because I gave up on Spellblade. I don't particularly care for it. And even in the deep dungeon battle, late chapter 4, when you fight those Spellblades in, is it Valkyries, I want to say? Even then, the Spellblade damage it was just, you know, low. Like, I think they were hitting for like 200s, something like that. Which is, 200 is kind of low for chapter 4. So yeah, I mean, like I said, the concept of Spellblade is neat. It's interesting, but I seriously think that Spellblade needs a buff. I do. Because it's terrible. I'm just gonna say it's terrible. Let's see, Mustadio. I didn't really use Mustadio much. His skill set is interesting. He can use ancient technology to provide buffs to the party and provide healing support. He no longer has his sniping abilities; those were moved to Archer. So yeah, his skill set is interesting. Like he can add protect on a unit, a shell on a unit, reflect haste. Vaccine function as a body purifier, stimulant, mind purifier. Vitality injector restores 50% HP. Target must be in critical status. That's kind of, I don't know about that. It's very situational. I feel as though Mustadio instantly gets outclassed by, White Mage, Chemist maybe. Because why add protect to one unit when you can add it to multiple units with protect up? I just feel it's kind of an underwhelming skill set in general. I really didn't use Mustadio, but I can just see that this is an underwhelming skill set compared to other options you have in the mod. I don't particularly care for this skill set really. Agrias has the Paladin archetype, so her job has been renamed to match. All sword skills cost MP. I do like the changes to Agrias, giving her Seal Evil and Purify and Holy. I really do like those changes. Agrias is a pretty good powerhouse for, I would say, the first, like all throughout chapter 2. And if you decide to use her in chapter 3, she can be pretty good there too. Of course, Agrias has that issue where she gets outclassed by Orlando once you get him. But Agrias is a pretty solid character. She has a solid skill set. I do like the changes to Agrias' skill set. You notice she does not have Split Punch. That was moved to Ramza, or chapter 4 Ramza rather. I wonder if her stats have been buffed. I used Agrias for a little bit on the run, and then I stopped using her because I don't know, I had better units by then. But she is a pretty solid unit, and I do like the changes that the mod maker gave to her. Sid, which is Orlando, select this character to add easy mode to your battles. All sword skills cost MP. Okay, so I don't agree with that. I really don't, because the few times I used Orlando, his sword skills weren't that how can I say this? He wasn't really too powerful there. I mean, it depends on the sword you give him too. So, and pretty much Orlando has his base skill set in the game. But I wouldn't say he adds easy mode. I wouldn't say that. I mean, that's just my opinion. I really don't think it's easy mode, honestly. I only used him a couple of times, and his damage wasn't much higher than everybody else's. But I mean, he is there if you want to use him. He does have his vanilla skill set. He has all the sword skills in the game. So yeah, that's just my opinion. I don't think he's easy mode. Rafa Malak. Oh, Rafa. I love me some Rafa. So Rafa Malak changes on this mod are interesting because basically what it says here, the abilities increase to 5 squares, no AoE. Each ability has a chance to hit twice. All damage coefficients, JP cost normalized all abilities. Ice element added to space storage to cover all elements, and sleep debuff removed. Okay, so basically Rafa and Malak are much better than their vanilla versions, because their vanilla versions, of course, their skills can hit up to 6 times, yeah, but they can hit different spots, and it can get very annoying very quickly when they miss all the time. And if you watched any of my Deep Dungeon streams, if you watched me play through, let's say, Cerebral's mod and any other FFT mod, pretty much, you hear me complaining about Vafa hitting with her spells all the time. So you don't have that issue with this mod because Vafa and Malak can only target one panel, and they only hit once. Sometimes they hit twice. So there is that little bit of RNG that you have to deal with, whether the skill hits once or whether it hits twice. But you don't have to deal with the RNG that it hits a bunch of different squares and you just miss. You don't have to deal with all that, which is nice, and I like that change. Rafa also has innate dual wield, and Malak has innate equipped katana and two hands, which is also interesting. I like that. So Rafa and Malak are very useful on this mod. I did stop using Rafa at one point late in chapter 4, but like say chapter 3 when you get her, and then early chapter 4 I used her. But she is really good on this mod. I do like the changes to her and Malak too. Meliador. Equip breaking has been removed, as I explained earlier. While an interesting mechanic, it can be very frustrating for unique gear to be lost. I agree with that. Meliador sword skills now function as other sword skills, or sword skills called MP, of course. Now, Meliador changes are really interesting. I do like the changes. Equipment breaking being removed is an interesting choice. I do like that. But what I like the most about Meliador, and this is where she and Orlando are different. Well, Orlando does have these skills, but Meliador has Geomancer unlocked, which I believe it's level 8 Geomancer unlocked. So she pretty much has all of the Geomancer skills, which is nice. But the thing about Meliador's skill set is the fact that, as you can see here, that Shelba Staff is 6 range, but it has the lowest damage out of the 4. Whereas Ice Wolf Bite is only 3 range, but it has the highest damage. So I do like those changes, and it really awards positioning with her. Like, if you need to do something from long range, if you can't Ice Wolf Bite something because you're not in range for it, then you do Shelba Stab. If you can reach with Shelba Stab, then you have something you can do that turn. But 6 square sword skill is really nice, especially on Meliador. But yeah, I do like the changes to Meliador on the spot. Beowulf's abilities now have a much higher chance of success than Purple Mage's no job. Okay, let me say this. Beowulf is one of the most broken things on this mod, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because it says here, Beowulf's abilities now have a much higher chance of success. Much higher chance means near 100%. And as you saw during my deep dungeon run on this mod, those breaks and those sleeps were 100%, if not, they were at least like 80 plus. I mean, unless they have like some sort of high evasion or whatever. But Beowulf is broken. He's insanely broken. And you have these sword skills that instantly go off. They have a near 100% chance, if not 100%, of success. And it's like, what's not to like? You know, he's busted. Ever since I got him, I've used him in pretty much every battle, because if you need status, he's your man. You know, he's your man. I feel as though that he can be toned down a little bit, honestly. And it's not just him. I think the success rate should be toned down a little bit. I mean, yeah, his sword skills are subject to evasion, of course, but even then, there's ways around it, you know. There's ways around it. But I just feel that Beowulf is just flat out busted on this mod. He's insane. Reese, my girl Reese. Reese loses her abilities that affect dragons only, gaining the Brave Faith ability of Mediators. No job unlocked. Reese changes I do like. Um, and as I said, she lost her dragon only abilities, which I like that change too, because unless you were hauling around like hydras or Tiamats or blue dragons, red dragons in your party, then dragon only skills were useless. I like the fact that the mod maker took out those skills and gave her Brave Faith altering skills. So pretty much she's a mediator who can deal damage with Ice, Fire, Thunder Breath, Holy Breath. Dark Whisper is an interesting addition, as is Bolster. Now, Bolster, if you remember the Scream ability from Vanilla, Ram's Scream ability, it is exactly what that is, except that it doesn't raise Brave Faith. It only raises PA, MA, and Speed. Bolster is absolutely, I'm not going to say it's broken, it's very strong. Dark Whisper is also a very strong ability. It's basically Rapper and Malak skills, only it's a guaranteed 6 hits. You're not guaranteed to hit the same panel, of course, but it is a guaranteed 6 hits with Dark Whisper. Holy Bracelet, of course, has that same issue where you may hit multiple panels that don't have anything on them, otherwise you miss with them. But Holy Bracelet is also very strong. Yeah, so at least I do like the changes to her. I don't think she's too powerful, because I mean you get her late, like late chapter 4 anyway, so I mean it's whatever with her. She does her job effectively. Now I'm not sure if she keeps her Dragoner stats from Vanilla. I haven't really tested it honestly, but Lisa's Dragoner classes has some pretty high stat glyphs. I'm not sure if that same is the same on this mod, but like I said, I haven't really tested it. So, but yeah, if you get Reese on this mod, the only reason to get her on this mod is for Bolster, is for Dark Whisper. Ice, Fire, Thunder Breath is whatever. Holy Bracelet is whatever, and the Mediator skills are whatever as well. But Bolster and Dark Whisper are very much worth it. She's worth it for only those 2 skills. Worker rate, no changes made. I haven't really used them. Cloud, reduce CT limit breaks during the party level. Now, I didn't use Cloud on this run, and the reason why is because he didn't have any JP when he came in. So I wasn't about to train his limits. There's just no point. I mean, if you want to use Cloud, go ahead, be my guest, but I feel as though he joins too late for it to matter, actually. Now, what a lot of mods tend to do is to replace Cloud with like a special character from another game or something, like Divide Records, for example. I believe Cloud was Alucard from Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and he had like Alucard's skill set, which was pretty nice. I like changes like that. But Cloud having his vanilla set, not coming in with any JP with it, and I'm not sure if you have to find the Materia Blade. I never really looked for it, so Cloud is, I don't know, Cloud is whatever on this mod, really. But yeah, so those are pretty much the job classes that I came across, and the job classes that are in this mod. Let's see what else we got here. Mind Purifier that just tells your accuser's status. New equipment, of course. We saw most of these in Deep Dungeon. Encyclopedia. Also a very nice book, only used by mediators. A lot of this stuff you can only get in Deep Dungeon anyway. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for this thing. Um, I do want to mention bosses. It says here bosses slash mini bosses in the game have been buffed. Some now have Zodiac stats. All have had changes to their equipment. Now that is a change I I like that change for the most part. Um, like Algus in at the end of chapter 1 has Zodiac stats, and I kind of struggled against him. If you're really not prepared, then you're gonna get your rear end handed to you, because unless you like read the Readme before you play the game, which I didn't, but I mean some people may. But if you run across Algus and he has Zodiac stats at Fort Zeekton, that was probably the hardest fight in chapter 1, because one, I didn't expect it, and two, he, of course, having Zodiac stats, has a lot more health. So I feel as though the changes to bosses was a good change for the most part. Let's see, Algus had Zodiac, Gapgarian. Wait, did he have Zodiac stats? I don't even remember Gapgarian having Zodiac stats. Huh. Anywho, Crackling. Okay, now let me talk about the Zodiac bosses for right now. The Zodiac bosses were well done. I will give you a round of applause for that. Well done, Zodiac bosses, because the Zodiac bosses on this mod are actually challenging, because they have a lot more health. Crackling, for example, I think I needed 2 tries against him. They have a lot more staying power, which is good. Now, the only thing that I don't like is the fact that they're still able to be hit by demi spells, by gravity spells. That's the only thing I don't like about that. I mean, now if the mod maker did what what's the mod? Cerebros mod did, where they were immune to dark, immune to gravity, then we'd be talking. But as they are right now, I mean, they have a lot more health, but they can still be hit by gravity. So, I mean, there is that little flaw that they have. But they are some really good boss fights. Let's see, I had 2 resets on Crackling. I had Velius. Oh my god, Velius is a monster. I want to say if you're not prepared for this fight, then you're going to get your rear end handed to you, because Velius has ultra powerful summons, and I want to say he has short charge, but I don't know. But it seemed like he did. But Velius is definitely a harder fight on this mod. Definitely. I can also say the same about Zalera. Zalera actually really wasn't that bad, honestly. By that point in the game, you have, a lot of your job classes mastered or unlocked at least. You have some good, good skills on your units. The later Zodiac bosses aren't really that bad. It's just the first 2 that can be very troublesome. But all in all, I do like the changes to the Zodiac bosses. I just wish that they weren't, able to be hit by Demi. And that's another reason why Beowulf is so strong, is because he has access to Demi and Demi 2, which can absolutely wreck bosses. So that's another plus for Beowulf. I mean, one of the reasons why he's so busted is he's also a boss killer, let alone a mass status inflictor. Monster changes, didn't really run into a lot of monsters except for like grinding, but monster changes are decent, I guess. Yeah, here's the deep dungeon, and it is as I suspected. Deep dungeon has potion encounter, acquisition encounter, 2 boss encounters. Now I want to see something about deep dungeon here. Are there Are the fights actually in this list? The poaching encounters are acquisition, package, boss fights. Those. Oh, one thing I did want to say about Deep Dungeon is the fights that have Zodiac stats, I feel as though they could be buffed because they really don't have that much HP. So in that case, having Zodiac stats just means, I mean, you can't be status by most stuff, and you can't be like petrified or anything like that. They really don't have that much HP, and I found that kind of weird. Now, there were some fights in Deep Dungeon that they did have a lot of HP. The workers in Delta, for example, that was a tough fight. And a lot of these fights in Deep Dungeon I like. I like the Dice Star Zalbag armor fight. I like that fight. That's a tough fight. The Knights, Regraph Maluda, Gustav Golagos, that was a hard fight. I enjoyed that one. The Agrias Alicia Lavian, that was a pretty good one. This one was pretty decent as well. Although this one less so because Log and Gotana can be status. Same with this one. Now, I didn't really enjoy the Malapan fights all that much because, again, you don't have access to teleport, and teleport is kind of crucial on some of these Deep Dungeon floors. Malapan is one of them. Valkyries is another. Delta, you don't really need teleport on Delta, but it's nice to have. Okay, so these fights, I'm trying to see if those fights from Tiger on down are different. Oh, I see. Okay, so the Tiger one, which we did with Quecklane and the other Zodiac bosses, they are very similar. Like the one in Bridge is similar, except that Velius is guaranteed to appear, and other Zodiac bosses have a random chance to appear. Okay, so they were similar. So yeah, it didn't make sense to do them then. I figured because I was seeing the same units, and I'm like, why do this fight if they're the same thing? Yeah, so those are my thoughts on like the classes and some of the choices that were made for this mod. All right, let's see here. I still consider this as beta because I'm still making tweaks. Having extra eyes on it can be helpful, but the main thing here is for people to have fun with a hopefully fresh experience in the game. And I did have fun with this mod. I will say I did have, for the most part, I did have fun playing through this mod. It is, it just needs a little bit more polishing, and I'm gonna get to that in a minute. But it needs, some things need to be tweaked. Some things need to be flat out buffed. Other things need to be flat out nerfed. Some of the classes are kind of, you know, all over the place. But all in all, I did have a good time with this mod. But I'm still working on tweaking Deep Dungeon boss encounters. I haven't been able to fully test these, and I'm still weighing my options on the fights. Maybe give classes some special job classes so they have more abilities. I'm also not fully sold on the Zodiac fights, as those might be a bit too much. Okay, so I'm gonna say, like, I didn't really enjoy the Zodiac refights. Honestly, I feel as though that you could put, say, you know, Quecklane, Velius, Solera, Adramilk, Hashmalum. Am I missing one? Quecklane, Velius, Zalera, Adramilk, Hashmalum. I think that's all of them, right? It might be all of them. But anywho, I feel as though that you could probably put those 5 Zodiac bosses as like a super boss fight down an end. I think that would be really cool to have down an end. And those other fights, they could be like something else maybe. I mean, because it doesn't really make sense to have, you know, they're pretty much the same fight. It's just that one of the Zodiacs is guaranteed to be there. So I'm not really sold on that, but I would like to see like all 5 of those Zodiacs in one fight down an end, because end, of course, end is usually the place where mod makers put their hardest stuff. I wouldn't mind seeing that down there. Let's see. I've noticed some AI problems with refreshing. My units have sometimes targeted my units in people's own ability. I haven't really seen. I don't think I've seen that. No, I haven't seen that at all. So I can't really comment on that because I haven't seen it. I haven't seen AI use refresh. Blah, 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 blah. If you manage to get through all that, well, I'm impressed. If you do end up giving this a shot, I hope you have fun, and please let me know what you think. That's what this video was for. Once again, I will say that the mod maker has done a really good job with this mod. Of course, there are those things that I mentioned earlier that I didn't really like, but all in all, I really enjoyed playing through this mod. Yeah, so I do want to show this really quick. I do want to mention a few more things about this mod. Okay, so I wanted to show off not that. This is one thing that I found that's weird, because some of the item descriptions aren't true at all. Like, I do believe this is the thief hat, which is on the screen right now. It says it gives speed +2, but it doesn't give speed +2 in the game. And I don't know if that's an oversight or just something that was missed, but some of these items don't do what the description says they do. And I think that that's definitely an issue, because if you have your players play through this mod and they look at the help description, and people will get confused, because the description says one thing, but when you actually use the item or equip the item, it does something completely different. So I feel as though that could be addressed. That's definitely something I would address. Let's see. Yeah, Gambitine. Now, I'm not sure if this is supposed to be a stick. I'm assuming it is, because it's a monk weapon. But this weapon is entirely too strong. Like, I believe it gives. Is it? And a Will Whisker gives. Is it 12? I think this gives 20 MA. This weapon gives 20 MA, which I absolutely think is broken. This is one of those weapons where I feel just breaks the balance of the game. I know you get it in the deep dungeon, and by that point you're gonna have, you know, a lot of uber powerful stuff anyway, but I just feel that makes monks way too strong. It makes them way too strong. It really does. This is also a thing that I've noticed in the mod. If you some of the not skill, but some of the help text is broken. And as you see in this shot right here, I hit select to see what the Gambitine did, and you don't get the help box that comes up. And then this happens, where you get a bunch of garbled stuff on the screen, as you see right here. That's definitely a bug that should be looked at. Um, and this happens for several items, by the way. It's not just the Gambitine. I do believe it also occurs with the Leech Staff and the Vampiric Staff, I want to say. I'm almost certain it's the Leech Staff, though. But yeah, those are... That is a thing in this mod, so I definitely think that this should be looked at. Once again, some of these weapons are just way too strong. This thing giving MA plus 12 on a class that just does a lot of things way too good. I mean, Monk is just absolutely broken with stuff like this. It's like I said earlier, you run a secondary, any of white magic, black magic, summon magic, primal magic, draw out. You run any of those things on a monk with a whale whisker or a gambitane that you saw earlier, and all of a sudden you're one-shotting everything. Or in the case of white magic, you're healing a full. It is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, you compare this to other weapons that you have access to, the other weapons don't even compare. You know, like some of the weapons are flat out weak. Now, I'm not talking about like early game weapons that you find in Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking really about Chapter 4 weapons. Some of them I feel are just way too weak. Some of them are way too strong, like this one. Others are just fine, but I definitely think that there is a balance issue. It is definitely a balance issue with these weapons. And this thing, oh my god, this thing, the grammar, this thing is absolutely busted. It was so broken that I didn't even want to use it. Like, okay, so I think my next shot that's not the one. I'll get to that in a minute. But the help text says attack power 30. But in game, it's really giving 50 attack power. Now, I'm not sure, and I did mention this back in one of my deep dungeon videos. I did mention that either this is an oversight, which I'm thinking it is, or the help text is wrong and it is 50 power. But yeah, I definitely think this is way imbalanced. It's just way too strong. I mean, it doesn't even matter that the weapon gives always slow and you're immune to haste. There's ways around that. It's called quick. You know, if you run like 1 or 2 quick units and then have your, grammar user go before them, then they cast quick and then he gets to go again, and then yeah, it's just way too busted. This is one of those weapons where I feel that it doesn't need stats like this. It really doesn't. I mean, Chaos Blade, which is 40 attack power, you don't get that until the very end of the deep dungeon, and it's weaker. So I'm not sure I'm not understanding why this is even in the game. Now, if it's meant to be 30 attack power, then that's a different story. But right now, grammar is giving 50 attack power, but the help text says it's 30. So I just feel that's way too busted. What else? This is Octagon Va, MA plus 10. Again, monk weapons are busted. The books, right? I did mention about the books earlier. The books right now are kind of broken, and I don't mean broken as in busted, I mean broken as in not working correctly. You cannot use normal attacks with these books, and I don't know if that is intentional. I hope it's not intentional, but right now I feel as though these books are way too good, and it's just the fact that they give way too many stats. They give way too many stats, and only mediators can use them. So in order to use these books, you have to run Mediator. And Mediator, as I said earlier, is a pretty underwhelming class. But yeah, it's just another one of those weapons that I feel is on the overpowered side. Not to mention it, you can't attack with it. Once again, another book. This is the Necronomicon, I believe. I think. Yeah, has to be. But they just give way too many stats. And I feel as though these stats could be put on other units. Like Mediator, what in the world is a Mediator gonna do with 7 PA? Like honestly, what are you gonna do with plus 7 PA on a Mediator when you can't attack with books? Honestly, plus 2 speed is nice, plus 1 move, plus 1 jump. Oh, that's nice. But 7 PA, it could do without that. I mean, plus the one earlier, plus 5 MA, that can be useful. But again, you're running a class that doesn't do damage. You're running a skill set that has no DPS in it whatsoever. So I feel that's also a little balance issue right there. Yeah, so these books are just weird. The Joyeuse is now I like the speed plus 3, and there's actually 2 of these you can get in the game, so you can make your thief super fast. Like you throw on like 2 of these, and then like a Septim Sun or something like that, and all of a sudden she becomes faster than the Roadrunner. But that's about all this weapon does. It's not really special other than the speed plus 3. I'm not saying it's too overpowered, honestly, but again, it's a little bit of a balance issue. Speed plus 3 might be a bit too much, especially since you can wear 2 of these, or speed plus 6. And I do believe only thieves can use these, so like I said, you can make an ultra fast thief with these 2 weapons. But again, you find these down in deep dungeon late game, so I guess, I mean, the fact that you can only get these during the late game, late chapter 4, I guess it's okay, but I mean, I just think that speed plus 3 is a little bit too much. Maybe speed plus 2, but speed plus 3, I don't know. I don't know about that. Yeah, this is the other one. Also speed plus 3. Let's see. Vijaya Gandhiva. These 2 crossbows are found in the deep dungeon. I believe I forgot which floor they were on, but these 2 crossbows are very underpowered. I do believe the help text says they have 6 range, but I think they only have 4 range. Now, I do like the fact that they can be dual wielded. I was always a fan of dual wielding crossbows. It just seems cool to dual wield crossbows, and you can actually do it on this mod. You can dual wield crossbows. You can dual wield these 2, but as far as power, they're really underwhelming as far as damage is concerned. But it's whatever. I just feel as though they're kind of underpowered. I would probably maybe up them to about, I don't know, like maybe 13, 14 attack power. I wouldn't go higher than that though. And not to mention, they don't have any extra effects to them. They just do damage. They don't have any extra stats on them. So they're kind of underwhelming as ultimate crossbows. Grammar, like I said, is absolutely busted. You can see in this shot that it is 50 attack power when the help text says 30. I don't know if it's intended to be 30. I want to say it is, and maybe it's an oversight that it's given 50, but this is a level 1 squire using the grammar. Now this is a level 1 squire straight out of the soldier office. using a grammar, 50 attack power. Now, those of you who know your tactics now, those of you who know your tactics know that sword damage is weapon power times PA. Squire has 4 PA, so this is doing 200 damage on a level 1 Squire. On a target that's neutral to Zodiac and whatnot. 200 damage. That's insane. Absolutely insane. Okay, so yeah, this shot right here, this is the fight with the generic units down in Malapan. This fight needs some attention because it is currently bugged. What happens here, and I explained it already in the actual video, but what happens here is that you will end up losing control of your character, and then you're effectively soft locked. And I don't know what's causing this. I assume maybe there's too many units or something, because I never really counted the units, but there might be 11 units there, but maybe it has to be something going on here that's causing it. So that is another bug that needs to be addressed in this mod. Yeah, another instance with the grammar. This is on my Ramza. Yeah, it's just absolutely ridiculous weapon. Like in this shot, a swing from this sword will do, I want to say 850 damage. That's just a regular swing. Way too much. Way too much. Did I not show that? Okay, I already showed that. Yeah, so that happens. That's the bug in action right there. This is what repeats. Like this screen comes up repeatedly and you're soft locked. So that is something that needs to be addressed. No idea why I put this shot here. It has nothing to do with anything. But anyway, yeah, that's going to be the end of this video. I will say once again that great job with this mod. If I were to give it a rating, honestly, I would give it right now I would give it like a 7 out of 10. Maybe like 7.5. And I'm not trying to be harsh here, but there are some things about this mod that really need to be looked at as far as balance. There are some game-breaking bugs as well, mainly in game. I didn't encounter any bugs during the actual main story, but the bugs I did encounter were in the deep dungeon. Or actually, there was that one bug I encountered during the main story, which was that one. So yeah, that's definitely something that needs to be fixed. But all in all, I want to say I had a blast with this mod. I liked most of the things that were presented. I didn't feel that battles were too difficult. Well, there were some difficult battles. I ain't gonna say there wasn't, but definitely some difficult battles in the mod, namely bosses. Velius, for example, comes to mind. Quekling wasn't that bad, honestly. I just had a bad setup on him. But the bosses having Zodiac stats, or mini bosses having Zodiac stats is a nice touch. I like that. I just want to say that the balancing issues are definitely what brings it down. As I said earlier, some of the weapons are just way too strong. Even for late game standards, they're way too strong. A couple of the classes are way too powerful. And by a couple of classes, I mean monk. Monk is just way too busted. With the right setup and the right skills and the right skill set, the right weapons and whatnot, they are just way too strong. They completely outclass other job classes, such as like Black Mage, White Mage. Uh, I wouldn't say Primal Mage. I wouldn't say they outclass them, but Summoner, stuff like that. So I would definitely take a look at those issues, because that also brings it down for me a little bit, and I feel as though they should be addressed. But yeah, that's the end of this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed my little review of Final Fantasy Tactics Reimagined. Like I said, I had a blast with it. I had a good time. It is a pretty good mod. I do recommend those of you who are into FFT mods, I do recommend trying this mod out. It is really fun. One thing I did forget to mention is, and I probably should have put a shout out for that, but I didn't. I did enjoy some of the sprite changes, namely for Alicia, Lavian, Agrias. The Agrias sprite's really nice. I like that. The Melia duel with her red hair, that was pretty nice. I enjoyed that. Not sure if there was any others. Don't think so. I might have missed one or two. But anyway, I did enjoy some of the sprite edits. So yeah, that was a review for Final Fantasy Tactics Reimagined. Hope to try another FFT mod. I have been looking at some other FFT mods I want to try out, but I don't know when I'm going to. So I will try them when I get around to them, I guess. But yeah, I will see y'all later.